What is up? What is up?
Yo,
Today is a good day, brother.
it's a fun one. Another fun one.
Yeah.
We got the stress and all the things that this game. It's just there's nothing like this game. It's so stressful. It's something that you just so unpredictable. We got that in the first half of the first quarter, but
Yep.
the film, the team, the talent, the cohesiveness, the communication, all of that came together
Yeah.
over a quarter game. So we did what we needed to do. So no complaints there.
Yeah, it was the disaster takes from the first half of the first quarter were cracking me up. In the group chats, everybody it was over. I was like, we're gonna be fine, guys. This offense literally cannot score. We could win this game 14-3 if we had to. No problem. So let's just talk a couple parts. And of course, guys, Ian's going to be on in a little bit. So there's no man better for a victory lap than to have Ian here. We know the OU fans love him. So that's the big trick. Bolden is an insane magical beast. He's a scary magical beast is what he is. But then he was able to get that fumble, man, and that changed the whole game. And he had a nice return finally. But man, he scares me with his confidence in those returns. What do you think of Bolden's game, man?
I mean, he scares us every time, but has he actually done anything to put us at risk?
No. That's the thing. It's like he hasn't made you're just like worried that shoe's going to drop.
Yeah, it feels like it's any second away, but he keeps doing what he needs to do. So I guess we'll hold on to that.
Yeah, and he got his return, man. But that, you root for that kid, man. You can tell how bad he wants to make a play. And the fact that he got to make that play in OU, awesome.
He doesn't take for granted every time he gets to touch the ball. Like, you can tell when he touches the ball, he treats it like, not it's his first time of the game. It's his last time. Like, I may never get to touch it again. So he doesn't take it for granted.
Yeah. Quentin, I have 50 clips of OU YouTubers talking noise. My college YouTube debut is coming.
What's funny is I know Layman and Icard get, a lot of people had takes on what they had to say this week, especially about Anthony Hill, who balled out.
He did.
But I mean, even you and Paul last week, I mean, you said, of course, based on the film against Mississippi State, Anthony Hill did not have his best game. So if you're watching that film, yes, you can be critical of Anthony Hill, but anybody who knows better, this dude with Leonga Lafau, the linebackers are talented.
Yeah.
These guys had more than enough film, more than enough time to prep for this game. So it's easy to kind of take shots at those guys over there. But anyone who knew better knew that this OU offense just wasn't great this year.
Yeah, whenever I was hearing all the predictions, and I might have made one that was kind of like this way earlier in the week, but the more I went through it, I was hearing a lot of 35-17s, and I was just like, how are they going to score 17? It's just like they don't have an offense. And now I didn't think they were going to score 3. That's pretty crazy too. And I mean, they're in 2 of BV's games, they haven't scored a touchdown. And then to be in year 3 and mismanaged. Now, I'm not going to knock you for wide receiver play. That's out of your hands. But to have a mismanaged quarterback room like that in year 3 too, man, is like you're just not doing your job.
I'll tell you what, I'll say that, Connor, it is. I think we have a luxury, and I think because we have the luxury of knowing, we have depth, that if guys get hurt really at almost any position, we're going to be okay. That is our standard now at Texas. We have a standard now where we expect to be able to backfill if someone gets hurt, even the quarterback. I mean, we did it last year with Malik Murphy. So when we look at our opponents, especially when we look at our rivals, we're like, is this the best you can do? Because we know first quarterback or second quarterback, first linebacker or second linebacker, first, I don't know about left tackle, but, there are certain positions where we expect to be better. So I do think, if this is OU, I'm with you. In year 3, it's like, I understand this is how it looks this year. How is it going to look next year? I mean, I'd say the same thing about OU, about A&M, about several people I know we're going to have to play moving forward. It's like, okay, this may be your best shot before it really gets ugly. So, to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and neither one of their quarterbacks were hurt. Like I said, I'm not going to knock them on receivers. Their quarterbacks were healthy. That's just them mismanaging a room and apparently not knowing what they were looking at in fall camp. And then I heard people, talking about why isn't Arnold in if Hawkins is this bad. Arnold still holds his red shirt. He's out of there. He's transferring. They threw him in the trash and they started their whole Michael Hawkins is the savior campaign. Why would you go back in for them? Save your year of eligibility. You saw what they did when the chips were down with you. They threw you to the side.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yep. Once they decided to go away from Arnold, I mean, the quarterback wasn't the problem from the start. Yes, it's one thing to have wide receiver injuries, but you're not protecting the quarterback. You're not running the ball well. You're having penalties on offense. Good luck. So this OU offense looked the way we expected them to look, the way they've looked all season. Their defense showed up as they usually do to play a solid game. But, I mean, defense can't score points, and they didn't today. So we'll see how they look the rest of the year.
But also I think, too, man, we could have been in the 40s easily if we just executed a little bit better. But also, like, on the flip side, you're a defensive player. So I know they're on the field too much, so they're going to give up points, right? That's a natural part of it. But, we heard the kind of OU defense is elite stuff all week. Truthfully, with your eye, where do you kind of rank the OU defense? Give me a fair assessment. You can tell me if you think they're that good. But just kind of where do you think they actually are at?
No, I mean, there are routine plays that we make that usually get more against our opponents, whether it's in the RPO game or even sometimes in the run game. I mean, OU's defense is solid. I mean, OU's defense made plays. I mean, Quinn overthrew some balls, but it's one thing for Quinn to overthrow. It's another thing to take advantage of it and get a pick. So these guys will make the plays you allow them to make. Venables is great at making his linebackers playmakers. That's something Ian's not here to point out, but I know he pointed out in the last 2 weeks. So they're still a great defense. They'll still be in games to play, but the fact that our offense cannot be sharp against this defense, still find a way to put up points, still have really more of a stress-free game, and that has a lot to do with our defense too. You really can't complain about that. The plays were there. We just didn't execute, but when we did, we were fine, and this was a comfortable win.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. OU defense elite. We won turnover battle and sacks. Did we win turnover battle? Yeah, because we recovered our own. The Wisner one we recovered.
Yeah.
So we should that, and then we threw the pick. And then how many times did they turn it over? I don't know. Maybe I should pull up the stats that I'm normally.
Yeah,
but I wasn't even aware of it. I thought their defense did what you could do, But I still think Quinn missed some stuff. I still think we could have scored in the 40s on them. But when you have no offense, I mean, none to help you out, and you're going up against Sarkisian, a really good offense, it was just – I'm just glad I didn't have to hear that. I was tired of the Texas defense not getting their due, Yeah,
and they're still not going to get their due. You know how this works, man. I mean, at the end of the day, two things I liked about early in the game is that I knew we were getting 3 and outs, and I was like, okay – we're going to have possessions on offense, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But two, it wasn't just the possessions on offense. It got to a point where you just knew we'd have a chance on defense regardless of what happened. OU finishing a long drive, was not going to happen. Yeah. So once that became obvious, it was just, all right, I kind of joked about it. It's like, hey, this is a good tune-up game for Quinn because we just need him to get reps, get back comfortable, just kind of get back used to sorting through the offense. And against a good defense, a really good defense. So that part, the defensive part, still gave us a lot on film. And I'm talking like we're playing against scrubs here, but
I know it does feel like
I don't have to go back and challenge Quinn and evaluate and get better for next week.
Yeah, that's the tricky part because he was rusty, man. Just bad ball placement, a little stiff in the pocket. And even when he was doing, Quinn actually is pretty quick, fairly. Like when he was doing some of his rollouts, he was running a little bit gingerly. So I was just kind of curious. He just looked a little sluggish today, and I guess if you're off work for a month, you're going to be a little sketchy. We didn't dominate today on offense. Yeah,
No.
which is crazy. 34 points.
Yeah, my main thing for any player who is playing or whether they're coming back from injury or not, it's like it's imperative that you are honest with your coaches and your teammates. If you cannot execute to the level that you're supposed to, hey, tap your helmet, let somebody know, go ahead and let somebody else come in for you. Now, I understand why Quinn would not even be close to doing that today. And I don't even think that was the case today. But that was kind of the thing I was thinking about. Is like, is he mindful? Like, if he's feeling something, just make sure that he's being honest and not worried about the big picture, and just making sure he lets the team know, hey, I might need a break, or maybe something didn't feel uncomfortable. But really, it just came down to he was rusty, and I think especially with that last touchdown run, it seems like he was pretty confident and feeling jacked up. So we'll see how it works out tomorrow and through the week. But I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, and Georgia's going to be a test, but Bama, I mean, he's not Jalen Milroe, so the running side's not going to work, but they're able to throw on him too. But when he was just kind of rolling out, doing some of the running stuff, I was like, that's not him at full speed. I mean, like, you remember the Baylor run? Like, he can be pretty quick when he needs to be, and I just really didn't see that early on. Look at some quick stats.
Can I just shout out one thing that I saw that popped off the sheet to me?
Yeah.
Do we have a new RB1?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was running with heart. Now that fumble was sketchy.
So the fumble, yes. But hey, I tweeted about this. OU made a great play on the fumble. We got to tighten up, or we would have risked losing this game. At the end of the day, OU's defense is going to make plays. They're going to go for fumbles. You can say we got lucky on that with Bolden jumping on it, but I'm with you. At the end of the day, 9 yards of carry is 9 yards of carry. I don't know how you slice it. I don't care how you slice it, but can't beat that.
Yeah, we ended up just overall with the team, we ran for 5.9, and the OU run defense was their strength. They're top 10 in the country. So, frankly, I didn't expect for us to be able to run on them like that. I thought we were going to have to carve them up with Quinn, and it was a bit flipped, which, hey, that's all good with me. Before we chat a little more, guys, though, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Hit them up.
All
right. Red zone attempts, 4 for 6. That was just, we got a little bogged down. I think it felt worse than the stats bear out. I think this game felt worse on offense than the stats bear out. Like, when you look at it, the stats are like, I mean, Quinn threw for 69%. It just felt like those kind of, the ones he normally hits, those home runs, we couldn't really handle, but
it was like we didn't feel it was necessary. I continue to feel as though Sark is only going to do what's necessary to win games. So once he finds a game plan to win, because you have a game plan going into the game. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Regardless of what he chose to do today, he had an idea of what he was going to do. And then you make adjustments to say, okay, what do we need to do to win the game? Sark put the game plan together and adjusted the game plan to do what he needed to do. And then you don't have to show any more than that unless you just want to, do a trick play in the fourth quarter when you don't need to. But beyond that, the guys, I mean, Sark did what he needed to do, call the plays he needed to. So there may be some more plays, sets, whatever, just in the arsenal for Georgia and to finish the rest of the season, because he only did what he needed to do today.
Yeah, and I'm glad he gave Golden. He basically was like, Golden, we're not going to let you go out like that, like on that Wingo throw. So he let him throw it again, and he could have thrown a pick if Helm didn't climb the ladder. But basically, that was Sark just being like, we worked on that all week in practice, and you're going to hit it.
Yeah,
we're talking about the Helm catch, Ian.
Oh man, harrowing! One of many harrowing moments on offense.
Yeah, your mic's a little hot. Can you turn it down a little bit, Ian? Just a tad. Your gain. But we were talking about that Sark, basically on offense, Sark wasn't doing more than he had to do. The only time that he broke anything out was the Golden pass to Helm late in the game. But it's not like he's just trying to put stuff on tape to put stuff on tape. And what do you think about that, Ian? You're obsessed with the scheme.
That's tough on the live watch.
It is, yeah.
They did have the 2 double passes, a couple interesting motions. I don't know. I wonder. They lost Isaiah Bond at some point early in the game.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Sark didn't step all the way on the gas, but it felt like Sark actually wanted to score 50, 60, and Quinn just wasn't quite feeling it.
Yeah.
Because there were moments where they could have just tried to run the ball and run clock, and Sark was like, go for it. Call this shot. I think he wanted the big, expressive blowout win, which they more or less got, but really mostly because of defense.
I'll take a blowout win however we can get a blowout win. At the end of the day, this was not just a statement win for today. I think anytime we beat OU or we play against OU, it's a status check on the nature of the program. So the fact that Quinn came out today, did not play his A game, our running game did not start as an A game, our RPO game was not A game, we still controlled the game and won the game. Our defense last year, as good as our running defense was, I'm not sure. We don't know. Last year we didn't. Dylan Gabriel, and that offensive staff made a difference. But at the end of the day, a blowout is a blowout. A win is a win. Regardless of how Sark wanted to look, 34-3 against OU. People need to chill out. Chill out. Who do we think we are? Vegas is, I'm happy or not. We beat the spread first half and second half. We did what we needed to do. So this is a great OU win.
When y'all won the national championship, how many clunkers did you guys have? Just kind of off games where y'all felt like you didn't dominate?
2.
Okay. I was just trying to get a compare.
Are you counting Texas A&M?
But Texas A&M is one. Kansas was one for sure. The rest weren't clunkers. They were just games where people came out and played to their standard, and we didn't play to ours. We ended up coming back and making up for it. But I truly felt like, and people don't know this, but I feel like that year A&M was a schematic clunker. And then Kansas was just like, what are we doing? We need to. We still, if you want to say this is our worst offensive output, or whatever you want to define it as, sure, it may have been that, but maybe our worst game is still out there. But this was, come on, man.
We scored 34.
Come on, man.
Yeah, we scored 34. We rushed for 5.9 yards per carry against a really, really good rushing defense. Net passing yards 230. But I think it felt rougher than it was because when you look at the stats, we beat them thoroughly. I think
Quinn averaged under 7 yards per pass attempt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the Michigan game where he was efficiently moving the chains underneath. He just straight up missed some throws and just never quite looked. He looked like a previous year Quinn. He didn't look like 2024 Quinn that's leveled up.
Yeah.
He was hitching a little bit. He sailed the ball a few times. He wasn't stepping into throws on a couple times. Did on a couple big ones. So he got the job done, but I think mostly this was a Quinn didn't have his A game kind of game. And but I was going to say he protected the ball. He mostly protected the ball. He didn't really make any bad decisions. The interception was the ball just like got away from him. It wasn't like a bad decision. He had this guy wide open.
Yeah, the guy was open.
Move. So, I mean, I think you do want to see Quinn get healthier and be more comfortable next week in order to beat Georgia. Other than that, this game was complete domination.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, Sark has to put, and I'm sure he will put, Quinn in the same uncomfortable situations and really truly diagnose, like, why did you miss routine layup throws where you just step in the pocket and make the throw? Are you still hurt? Are you still uncomfortable? Were you not accustomed to the pressure around you? How did you get outside of sorts? How did you get outside of yourself? I expect him to be challenged in that way this week. It's one thing to knock off Russ. It's another thing to make sure your quarterback is seeing things clearly and making the right throws under pressure. He was reading everything right, but the execution wasn't there. And that may not be an injury. That could be overcompensation for just something he may be feeling. That could just be nerves in a big game and wanting to have a big game. So I trust they'll assess that this week. But yeah, we got to sort through that and get him cleaned up. And fortunately, this wasn't one that was at risk.
Yeah, yeah. It was nice to have Quinn, having a sketchier game, and you're still like, we're gonna be fine, guys.
Yeah.
Ian, how much was OU having awful receivers, and how much was Hawkins being bad? I lean towards Hawkins being bad.
They have a vicious cycle going where there will be a play where the receiver just cannot get open. And then there will be a play where they have guys that could be open or they have windows of opportunity and the quarterback doesn't trust it or he doesn't see it because he's like, I got to make this happen on my own with my legs. Pretty satisfying game for me watching Hawkins. Because remember I told you, I was like, this guy is not good yet. He has potential, but he's not a good quarterback yet.
Right.
And it felt like because they beat Auburn with a couple big plays by him, and because it was like how the natural way to look at the game was like, how could Oklahoma possibly win this game? And so you're like, well, the way they could possibly win this game is if this freshman is a total hero and he makes all these big plays. And so we all, on both sides of the Red River, just kind of gaslit ourselves into thinking that this guy might be the difference.
Yeah.
When he got out there and he played like a freshman who's trying to make it all happen with his legs and isn't in command of a system, isn't in command of a team, and is just hoping that he can will a victory with sheer athleticism.
Sooner match.
That does not work.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about this is like you can do hard analysis because all the analysis said that Texas is going to beat OU handedly. And if this, like we said, if this was Indiana or Kansas State at 18, we wouldn't have these conversations. But because of the narratives we tell ourselves of the game of like anything can happen every single time, we can kind of trick ourselves into what if Michael Hawkins is secretly a Heisman candidate? And that's kind of what we did. But he was outclassed and. I mean, just how many times did he roll out right? I mean, it was just every single play. It seemed like he was rolling out right. And then he was doing silly freshman things like stepping out of bounds and losing yards when he could have just thrown it away. And he did that several times. So that was kind of tricky part. I want to talk about this. Ryan Wingo, Ryan Williams. I don't know about that, but Ryan Wingo, man.
They're different. They're different players.
Yeah.
I misread that at first because I keep comparing Ryan Wingo to Roy Williams.
Yeah.
I would be curious to hear Drew's take on that comparison. But boy, he had a game. I guess Bond was knocked out of the game with something, and you wonder if that was even much of a win for Oklahoma to have to deal with Wingo.
That's what's crazy right there.
So Wingo and Williams, I mean, both players still have 2 more full seasons to show who they are and what they can do. As you know, when it comes to, when I say who are the better players, I don't really just look at college. I look at how they project in the NFL and everything else. At the end of the day, both players have 2 more years to show what they can do. And I think both have bright futures ahead. They're both going to look great. It just really comes down to what teams they should both be first-round receivers when it's all said and done. It really will come down to what teams want at that time, their health and everything else. But usually guys like this, you already know what they're going to be. So it's just a matter of executing. And, Ryan Williams, you get him a quarterback that can get him the ball more consistently in challenging games, not just on big plays. We'll see what he becomes. But I know Wingo, his path is already set.
Drew, what do you think about Wingo comparison to Roy Williams?
Oh, man.
For years after Roy Williams, Texas fans would be like, Dan Buckner, is he the next Roy Williams? Malcolm Williams, is he the next Roy Williams? Who's that big 5-star that we got out of Louisiana? I can't remember now. They kept looking for one and then eventually gave up. Now, finally.
I mean, listen, Roy, dynamic, gets open as a receiver. Felt like he was always open as a receiver. Ryan Wingo, dynamic, gets open, catches, he always feels like he's open as a receiver. So, and you tell yourself sometimes, maybe it's the offense or maybe it's the guy. Over a period of time, once a guy is always catching his targets, always bringing them in, always making plays after the catch, you have to see what it is. Frankly, there's no doubt, I think, that Ryan Wingo is capable of everything Roy Williams did. It's just a matter of if the stats are going to match up and align to it. But I think capability and talent, we've seen enough now to know, this dude is different. So everything else just comes down. And I'd say the same thing about Ryan Williams. Whether he connects with his quarterback the rest of the year, there are just certain players you're like, regardless of the stats, this dude is different. So Wingo's that guy. Ryan Williams is that guy. Roy Williams is a standard that, as a Texas fan and as a Texas person who's seen him play, you're always looking for the next guy who can match that. And Ryan Wingo is right there.
Yeah, anytime he catches the ball, man, when he gets to run it, for that to be that size and to move that quickly,
different.
Yeah, it always it blows my mind every time I see it. Someone posted on Exit Bond's injury is minor and he will be fine. I think that was his agent, right?
I didn't see.
So see, they got agents. They got agents now, man.
I didn't even realize he was out. I thought I saw Hill limping into the locker room for halftime early, and then he was obviously, if that was him, he was obviously fine.
They said he's fine. The person who posted, I think it was, but I'm not sure. He said that he was going to be out the rest of the game, but it was nothing major.
Can I make a statement on an unpopular opinion right now? Just since I've seen it so much. People have said if Quinn plays the way he played today, we will not beat Georgia. I would just like to just say right now, we have a chance to beat Georgia and anyone else on our schedule, regardless of if Quinn plays like he played today or not. We have a team, and Quinn's floor today is Quinn's floor. If you want to say how bad Quinn is, this is the floor. And this is enough to beat Georgia. This is enough to beat everyone else left on our schedule. So unless you're undervaluing the totality of what it takes to win or the skill level amongst our team, both sides of the ball, you're missing the point that Sark has built a team that can withstand even erratic quarterback play. And we're only going to be coached up and get better and be more bought in and be more convicted to do this. So pump the brakes. We'll be okay. We want to see more out of Quinn, but everybody needs not to stop freaking out about, we are the class. Like, we are part of what are, amongst the best teams in the country right now. So every little bad play by the quarterback isn't the difference these days. It just is different. And I expect us to show up next week. And regardless of how, this is Quinn's floor, and I think we'd have a chance even with Quinn's effort this week.
Are we sure George is good?
So here's what I was going to say. It's not going to say, Ian. So I had to rewatch Georgia and Bama because I'm working on the Georgia preview next. And when I watched that game initially too, I was like, everybody's like, these are two elite teams, and this is the instant classic, and that's not what I got from it. I don't know how good Georgia is, and like I said, if you want to worry about Quinn's floor versus Carson Beck's floor, Carson looked awful in the Alabama game. He was throwing picks. I know at the very end, the exciting part, the last half of the fourth quarter, evaluate Carson Beck's performance for that whole game. I'll take Quinn's floor here. If Carson plays at his floor, Texas will still win by a lot. And if our floor is 34 points, then that's about as solid as of a floor you can get. And the interception, like I said, it wasn't a dumb read. He made a bad throw, but it's not like he threw it into double, triple coverage there. He just sailed it a little bit. And then also on top of that, Bowman's a good player. And so he was able to get it. So now we don't want Quinn to play a mediocre performance. We'd like him to play a good one, but I don't think it's that serious. It's also just Texas OU, so we magnify every little thing.
Yeah, this was Paul's point going in when his predicted score was Texas 1, Oklahoma 0. It's meaning just get a win in this game however you can. Now, I wanted at halftime, I was saying I'd like to see Sark go for 100 in this one, and they came up a little short. But
Sark can go for 100 next year.
Here we go.
We get a chance to do it again next year, so that's good.
Yeah, 34-3 against OU. I'll take it every single time. Before we keep going, guys, quick word from our sponsor.
One of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make in your life is the purchase of a home or the refinance of an existing home. And you need the right person on your team. That person is Gabe Winslow. He is a lifetime Longhorn, a huge supporter of Inside Texas and Longhorn Nation. And you can reach him at 832-557-1095. Why Gabe? Over 20 years in the industry. He has a law degree. He's fantastic at what he does. And he loves creating solutions for his clients. Give him a call. If he's not your first call, make darn sure he's your last call. And you'll find out why so many Longhorns have raved about the service that he provides.
We already have the players starting their clapbacks. Anthony Hill posts, Texas fears no one to respond to Stutzman. This is the best part. So this is, Drew, and you can tell me this. You know how the party line's always like, we don't listen to the media, we don't see the media. But as soon as the game ends, suddenly everything from the media, they immediately remember. And so that's my favorite part is kind of the party line of like, we don't listen to any of that. And then as soon as they win, immediately they respond to everything.
It shouldn't change the way you play.
Yeah.
But you're going to keep receipts regardless. Like, why not? Like, why not keep the receipts? Why not? Especially in this environment, we didn't have, if we would have gotten on message boards and went to say or respond to all the things that were said on message boards when we were playing, because we didn't have Twitter. It wasn't used for that, at least. Facebook was out then, but it was all, you had to be a .edu to have one. In this environment, go out, handle your business. You don't have to talk before, but handle your business and go find the receipts. Spend 24 hours finding the receipts, talk your talk, and then get back to work. Why not?
So did Mayfield say something about him too? Why does he have a Mayfield jersey?
Mayfield says something every year.
Is it so? Okay.
Mayfield never stops talking about.
And I expect that.
I love it.
Yeah, I expect it. He'll be doing it for the next 50 years.
Yeah, that's going to be the fun part. Let me see. We talked Trey before you came on here. Ian, did you have any thoughts on RB1? Are you putting Trey as the lead back?
Yeah. Jaden Blue just kind of tiptoes a little bit. And it just feels like when Trey White, it'd be nice if they could get Trey's mindset in a bigger player's body. He's like, he makes good cuts, but he also looks at times like he's just trying to run through people and he doesn't want to go down easily.
Yeah.
Blue just does not seem to have that. It seems like he's regressed since his early injury. And like he's just not quite running through contact or running as decisively as we had hoped.
I think what tends to happen really with not just running backs, with every position, when you're in the running back room or you're in the linebacker room or the safety room, you hear how other guys are being coached and you just want to execute to the furthest extent of what your coach is telling the room to execute to. So Trey Wisner, Jaden Blue, regardless of the running back, it seems like I feel like they're all being coached to maximize the way the runs are blocked. Whereas I do think that Jaden Blue, like just like Brooks, just like our running backs in the previous years, it's not just about being able to maximize the way the runs are blocked. It's about seeing sometimes the crease or the anomaly, or sometimes in the way the runs are blocked and maximizing the runs beyond what they're blocked. And there are times where I feel like there's some indecisiveness on, do I want to do what I'm naturally feel is good to do here? Or do I want to just go punch it in and go hit that hole? And Trey Wisner he's committed to whatever he wants to be. And that's going in, taking the yards out of there, running hard and maximizing it. It seems like Jaden Blue is trying to decide if he wants to be a Trey Wisner and go maximize the run versus do I want to do what's more natural and maybe bounce it out sometimes where I'm not supposed to, but still make the play or make a few guys miss. So he seems tentative, but it's like, dude, you got to decide who you want to be. You got to decide who you want to be because you're in this lost space and you're not maximizing yourself one way or the other.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be kind of this speedy home run hitter, and I feel like he's lost a step even in the pure speed too compared to last year. So it's like I'm just struggling to kind of see what he is. So according to one Oklahoma player said the Longhorns didn't work hard to get what came to them after the interception. Okay.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
All I'll see is 34-3.
Yeah, it's just you just be like, all right.
We play Georgia 6:30. It's barely 6, so we have almost exactly 7 days before we have to line up and play against Georgia. That's 67 hours. So we'll be good. That's all I care about right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun playing Georgia. But like Ian said, are we sure Georgia is really good? That's what we have to.
They're probably pretty good.
But they're
beatable. I know they're beatable.
Yeah, I don't think they're like. I don't know, man.
Texas is favored. So
that tripped me out too. We're at the point where Texas is favored for every game.
I wonder though if that line is a little different after seeing Quinn.
Yeah.
But another week to recover from that and to kind of build back. I think.
See, this is where I feel like because Sark is so direct and honest with his assessment when he talks to media, I really feel like he's going to challenge Quinn this week and be like, dude,
yeah.
What's this throw? Be honest with me about what's going on here because we want to fix this so this doesn't happen against Georgia. It doesn't happen. There's too much at stake. There are millions of dollars on the line. If Sark is not asking the question to Quinn, yo, are you good?
Yeah.
We can't win with this. We can't have this. I drew this play up perfectly. I schemed this up perfectly. The offensive line blocked this perfectly. So it's fine if you're not 100%, if you're not feeling like yourself. I mean, that's fine. But don't risk us. Don't risk the team. Don't risk your teammates if you're not ready to step up and show this week that you can be as sharp as you need to be in this offense. Yes, we played a great defense. Yes, it was a rivalry game. Yes, there are jitters, but they're going to be jitters the rest of the season. We're undefeated. There's a lot at stake. I'm hoping Sark really challenges him in the way that he needs to be challenged. Like, we won the game, but dude, if you're not yourself, don't BS us. Don't BS yourself. Like, let's go get these wins, and you need to figure it out. So, yeah, it's bigger than Quinn, and so we need to treat it like it's bigger than Quinn and make sure he's ready to go next week.
I mean, they're not going to pull Quinn unless they absolutely have to.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I was in text threads where people were like, at some point in the first quarter, the second quarter, people were like,
"Oh, was I?
You think about putting an arch here?"
Yeah, I heard that too.
And it's like, no, not really until like you're losing.
Yeah.
And like, if you had, what if Arch comes in and he's jittery too, and now you just wasted all those snaps that Quinn had trying to get comfortable, you know?
Yeah, and we also saw it's not a good idea from the OU side. But yeah, I had the people in the first half through the first quarter in the group chats Tuesday, and it was time to put Arch in. I was like, guys, we're gonna be all right. Linebacker to linebacker, Drew. Anthony Hill stat line: 11 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, career high. 4 quarterback pressures, 2 sacks, 6 defensive stops, 1 forced fumble.
Is a defensive stop a tackle at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I think a defensive stop is that or 2 yards behind. But the point is they didn't gain anything in the run game.
I don't know. I mean, when I saw Anthony Hill balling, I knew, and this is how the game goes. I mean, I was picked on as a linebacker. So as a guy who put something bad on film and comes back the next game or two and somebody attacks you as a linebacker, you have a choice of how you're going to show up and respond to it. It doesn't shock me that Anthony Hill had 11 tackles, because if you saw him on film the week before, if anybody was convinced, I think OU was probably saying, hey, let's challenge this guy or this group.
Right.
So it didn't shock me that he was challenged, but when you're challenged, you have more opportunities to make plays, and Anthony Hill showed up. It doesn't shock me one bit. So you can call it an okie doke, or you can call it, hey, OU just picked the wrong guy, but I'm not sure who else they could have picked on a day like today and with that offense.
You know what stood out to me is, Connor actually texted me the other day, and he was like, hey, I've heard that Oklahoma is planning to be like in 2 backs a lot and just trying to run option from like bigger formations. And I was like, man, I hope so. That sounds like a terrible idea. Their game plan was garbage. Like they were trying to run all this misdirection, sprint out stuff to get Texas going the wrong way. But they were running with like 2 running backs in their tight ends that can't block anything.
I know.
And they're just inviting Texas to sit in a 2-high shell the entire game and just play downhill on them and tee off. Yeah, it looked like Texas's defense was having fun out there.
And we have the lateral quickness for that.
Yeah,
so it's like it's not like we're slow. So it's like you can try to beat us to the sideline. That didn't work out very well.
You have to have a 4-quarter game plan. Like whatever you think you can get away with in the first quarter, or even the second quarter, you can't rely on that for 4 quarters. And so there was a time in this rivalry, and really in a few seasons ago, where I felt like Sark ran out of plays, and whether that's due to personnel or due to anything else, it's just he felt like he ran out of plays. You can't run out of plays, and whatever game plan you have can't be the only thing, especially in this game for 4 quarters. It just felt like they tried to see if some things could work, and once it didn't work, they didn't have an answer. And that'll never work for 4 quarters, especially not in this game.
Especially with defense.
I think the game was a wrap when Quinn sailed that pick. and they got the ball in great field position and then had to try to settle for a long field goal and missed it.
Yep.
It was like, nope.
Nope.
You're not gonna get another chance like that.
Yep.
It's over. They did. I guess they did get another long field goal they made, but whatever.
Yeah. So I was trying to see because I was like, what was their longest? It felt like they could hit nothing downfield. The longest was Zion Kearney, and I don't know if he even caught that for 15. He probably caught it and then ran. But it's just like these OU receivers, man. Oof. They can't get open either, man.
There was a moment in the game, I think it was Zion Kearney, where it may have been that pass that they completed to him, and then they showed him, and I was like, I have no idea who that person is. I've never heard of that person in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, they also remember all the noise about Jacoby Johnson too, the corner that they were going to flip over. I didn't see him at all.
Yeah.
So they're going to lose a lot. They're going to lose a lot of games. Like if their defense is going to have to keep them alive. But that's when people were like, this game's going to be about turnovers. And my argument was Sark's going to score in the 30s no matter what. So it's like, I don't know, what's OU going to get 5 turnovers and they're going to pick 6, all of them? There was just no avenue for them to be able to score here, even with like the greatest OU defensive performance ever.
Right, because turnovers still require you to score.
Yeah.
It still requires you to go execute on offense.
Yeah, they got turnover margin.
So what we know about OU is the same thing we knew coming into this game. Their offense is inept.
Yep.
Sorry. And what we know about OU is what we knew coming into this game. And what was that?
They suck.
All right. There we go.
They play South Carolina next week at home. So Hawkins is going to have to take a bunch of ice baths and then just do it again. And they don't have Texas's defense, but they just held down Alabama.
Yeah.
Like it does not get better.
Yeah.
A little better, but man, they are.
Man.
We'll see if they can reach bowl eligibility or not. I have doubts.
You sound like Mac Brown. You sound like Mac. We used to celebrate bowl eligibility. What's our record right now?
We're already bowl eligible. Yeah. There we go.
Mac will be so proud. Y'all have no idea how we used to turn up in the locker room because we come in and be like, "Hey guys, we're bowl eligible."
Yeah.
The only thing that meant is we had a guarantee that at the end of the season we had 30 more days of practice, we could get better, and we got bowl gifts, which meant you really got like a $300 valued gift along with all the other bowl little things. But these guys don't get excited about that anymore. So hey, whatever.
Homer, Dr. Pepper, Sawyer scream, sue them. So the scream from the Homer videos in the beginning is called the Wilhelm scream. And it's from a campy Western back in the day. And it was such a silly scream that it's an inside joke amongst filmmakers to put it into your thing. It's in Star Wars. You can Google Wilhelm scream and look on Wikipedia. That
Everywhere.
specific, yeah, it's everywhere. It's a running joke with filmmakers. So you slip it in there. So just from film school and stuff like that, that's why I integrated the Wilhelm scream.
That's how Homer lets all you guys know that he's RTF at University of Texas.
The University of Texas. That's how you got to know. That's how I let you guys know that I'm elitist.
I knew when I heard it. I knew what it was.
Yeah, but check out Wilhelm scream. It's in everything. Once you know that now, you'll hear it everywhere as well. All right. What were the OU surprise wrinkles? The 2-back stuff? Like
They had the sprint out GT counter where Hawkins would go one way,
right,
and then like hand it back the other way behind the lead blockers.
Sprint. They do sprint trap, that kind of stuff too.
It did nothing. It was a lot of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just bad. I mean, and Hawkins, just like I said, the play was roll out right every single time.
They had one of those that was pretty good for like a 5-yard, 7-yard gain on a pass. they had to work so hard schematically just to get like a successful play.
Yeah.
That's always like when Sark is in his bag and he's working hard schematically and he's moving pieces around and running all these clever plays. It's like, and it's like 8 yards, 15 yards, 2 yards, 20 yards, touchdown,
Yeah.
And for Oklahoma, it was like sack, 5-yard run, scramble short of the sticks, punt, They had nothing.
Yeah. What did we end up with? 5 sacks. So 6 sacks last game, 5 sacks this game too.
How many tackles for loss?
Let's see. TFLs. We ended up with 11 TFLs. Yeah.
11.
11 TFLs.
It's good.
3 QB hits, 2 forced fumbles. It's almost like we had the turnover defense.
Yeah.
They yeah, there's like I'm trying to think of like something that like OU exploited particularly well.
No.
And they didn't.
No. I don't even know. There's a couple moments early where they were beating blocks on their D line, and they were just kind of on Texas's stuff early. And then really Texas pretty much opened it up on them. They got the zone run game going. Both of those long runs that blew the game open were outside zone. The thing about a defense like Oklahoma's when they have like small, fast D linemen and they're moving around a lot and they're run blitzing is that if you can run outside zone well and you move the whole point of attack really far laterally, then those teams that want to move around up front a lot can get caught in a really bad way. And that's what happened to them on those 2 long runs. At one point, Texas was averaging like 18 yards per carry when they gave it to Trey Wisner. So that ended up evaporating as well. Their pass rush died. They ran out of juice.
And one thing I want to say about Sark, what did they end? They ended up with 1 sack on defense.
Yeah, it was like the second drive or the first drive of the game.
Yeah, and they're like 4th in the country in that. So like the whole like beware of pass rushing defensive lines. He shut down Michigan. He did it with Bama 2 years straight. Sark can totally neutralize good pass rushing defensive lines. So whenever I'm doing my analysis, I'm always hyper aware of it, but it's getting to the point where it's like I need to discount the value because Sark just makes them not effective.
What I love about Sark, both in the running game and the pass game, it's like early on, it seems like he allows teams to have the illusion of effectiveness in both the run game and the pass game. They get confident, they dial in even more to their game plan, and then it's like, no, wait, hold up. We had a way to scheme against this. continue to dial in. We're going to get this sorted out, and then he gets it sorted out, and then they're stuck. So it's almost like they double down early on what they intended to do because they feel confident early, especially against Venables and OU. I mean, I really feel as though they always find that early success, but once we adjust to what we expect to be some early success, or if nothing else, like what we expect them to do, they don't have really a counterpunch, and that's what happened this year. I mean, Dylan Gabriel was their counterpunch last year. But our offense has responded to whatever their defense decides to do, no matter what, all 3 years that Sark has had to face Venables.
Interesting tidbit. Looks like Kirby Smart lost his composure a little bit in the Mississippi State game. Did y'all see this?
No, not yet.
He ran up to like argue with the officials, and Van Buren was right there and kind of in his way. And then Kirby gave him kind of one of these. Shoved him.
Why? I like Van Buren. Don't do that to Van Buren. We like him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to be. I don't think anything's really going to happen, but that's not going to go over very well. That's not going to be a fun distraction for them this week.
Well, and that program is known for being so composed, and doing the right thing. So it's very shocking.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, they're a staple. We aspire to be them.
Yeah.
Oh, Drew, Texas defeated Georgia. last time we played.
Oh yeah,
And-
with Tom Herman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bevo showed
but
Uga what's up.
they didn't care about that game. They would have been more physical had they cared.
Dude, I can't wait till we can start. Oh no, there's the playoffs now. I was like, dude, we can start losing our bowl games and never be held accountable now that we're in the SEC now. But now we got to play in the playoffs, so now we actually do have to try.
At least the games count now for what we expect to be in.
But
I don't know. I'd have a question for you guys though. For everyone who said we had a weak schedule, soft schedule coming into this year, what say you now? What? How do you feel about our remaining schedule relative to what people were saying about it to come into the year?
It's definitely gotten harder because you have Vanderbilt beating Alabama, you got Georgia, A&M looking better. I still need to really watch them after the Missouri thing, but it's absolutely looking better than it did going into the year.
Here's a I totally agree. Here's a question. I don't mean to derail you, Drew, but what if Quinn beat Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Texas A&M in the regular season, but his stats in all 4 games were like they've been against Oklahoma and Michigan? Does he win the Heisman Trophy?
No. Mm-mm. Nope. Because the Heisman Trophy will not matter relative to Quinn's stats will not matter relative to everyone else. I mean, of course, Cam Ward has a stumble. You have Ashton Genty, in which his upside is truly if all the Power 5 guys can look just human, then yeah, he should win, right? So yeah, Quinn can't win with a guy like that at Boise State playing the way he's playing amongst all the other quarterbacks who are still balling and undefeated and trying to figure things out and put clean games together. So,
and we know how swayed the voters are. They need those national games, the OU games, the ones where the voters are actually watching. That's when you have to show out. So theoretically, if Quinn just had 4 good games and it was those games and he had awful games, all the other ones, he could still win the Heisman easier because that's the only time they're watching.
Which is funny because this is his worst OU game. If you just look at just stats on the paper and his actual impact and influence on the outcome, this would be his worst. But make no mistake, next week, Georgia coming into Austin, regardless of what you think about this Texas team, and we can short sell Texas right now if we wanted to and just kind of build up into next week, because they played against an OU offense that was inept. They played against a great, OU defense. Of course, Georgia can, and Quinn didn't look great. We can help with this campaign by building up how great Georgia is and how inept Texas is going into next week. But I really don't see a case for us to just, unless we build it up and make Georgia amongst all the other voters too, who are maybe hoping that we lose. So there can be more parity just amongst this season, or not really any elites throughout this season. Maybe that helps. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not sure what Quinn can do to make a difference unless we just really hype up every team the rest of the way, the rest of the season, and he surpasses that.
I mean, he has a chance to stack some amazing wins. Like Texas' second ever win against Michigan on the road against the defending champs. Even the series against Oklahoma.
That's been dismissed already. Both of those have been dismissed.
Beat A&M.
As far as Heisman voting goes, Michigan and even OU has been dismissed. The next 5 games are what's going to make the difference.
Yeah.
SEC defenses, is he putting up numbers? Are we undefeated at the end of the season? Are we going to the SEC championship undefeated? All of those things tell the story. Up to this point, Quinn does not have a Heisman narrative story, which is heavily tied to his stats, but also heavily tied to the team. So his stats don't tell the story, but the team story may be the head that brings on Quinn, who's the tail on, like, wait, man, Texas looks great. Quinn has looked great the last 5 games. how is he not the Heisman candidate amongst everyone else? And I think that can come together for him later, just depending on how the team performs. But as of right now, he shouldn't be in the conversation.
He's not even the shiniest toy for most of those voters at quarterback at Texas.
No,
Like,
it's
that's
not.
what the craziest. Like, they're probably on the arch train. You know, it's like the name recognition there is like, that's the crazy part. Man, I don't trust these voters. Every time I get to like actually look who gets to vote for like 8 people or like Heisman, I'm always horrified.
It's just not close right now. What has Quinn done to earn even being in the conversation at this point?
Well, I get that, and he's been hurt, and also my argument earlier on the pregame, and I just asked it because I don't really know the answer, but if your MVP quarterback goes down and the other quarterback comes in and also does great, it kind of hurts the case that he's an MVP of your team. Because you're able to kind of move smoothly with his absence.
Well, especially when people don't look at the competition. They just evaluate the stats and what he did and the name. So, yeah, it is going to be what it is. But that's on Quinn. I mean, the game plan was there today. The opportunities were there today.
Yeah. The guys were open.
The guys were open. Quinn could have started fast, and he didn't. So, he had the stage. He didn't earn it. It is what it is. He'll have more opportunities this year, but he didn't take advantage of it today. So it is what it is.
Final question is the winner between Ohio State and Oregon going to jump Texas as the number 1 team? I think they might have learned their lesson with Bama because they got real like Bama's the greatest thing ever after beating Georgia. We'll see. I'm not mad if they do jump us. I think it's fair. You can make the argument it's a good win. But Texas also dominated OU today, so it's not like we like played OU close. So I don't know. Go either way. What do you guys think?
I don't give a bleep.
But if we're doing the thought exercise, we're not on the team.
I'm not doing the thought. I don't care. It doesn't matter. No one should care. It does not. What does the ranking indicate?
The ranking may be the difference between us winning the recruitment.
I was gonna. It does work with recruits. And my argument for rankings, here's the value. Now, when you're talking between 1 and 2, it's negligible. But the actual value of the modern rankings is if you're number 1 versus number 5 and you lose as number 1, it's a close game, you'll go to number 5. And then you lose again, you might go to 11, right? But if you lose as number 5, you're only going to get one thing before you're out of the playoffs. So that's why I think the perception matters. Because
it's not even the same. It's not the playoff people
are going to vote separately than the AP.
Yeah, it's not even the same people.
Yeah, but it's still strikingly similar. So if you can set that narrative that you're the number 1 team, I think there is value.
Because it's the same 15 teams. It's like, yeah, if the 10 and 2 and 11 and 1 teams are going to be, I use the AP top 25 because the college football scoreboard page on ESPN lists those first, and then it tells me which games to watch.
Yeah. So you're telling me
that's it.
You're telling me if Oregon wins today, it didn't help us with Riley Pettijohn and Devin Sanchez?
That might, but the whether or not they jump Texas in the rankings doesn't matter.
Well,
I think it does. I think it does matter with the recruits. I totally with you with it.
I only think it matters with recruits. It doesn't matter at all in the grand scheme of how the season plays out. But that doesn't matter with recruits. It's stupid, but it matters.
Number 1 sounds cooler than number 2. This is the American problem we have, where being number 1 is cool.
If you're number 1, you're great. If you're number 2, you suck.
Yeah, and so that's kind of just. Yeah, that's just the culture we hang out in. So being number 1, it's the Ricky Bobby theory, Ian.
If you're not first, you're last. Ian.
Yeah. All right, you guys got any final things before we roll out? Or I'm ready to watch the press conference, gloat, watch OU YouTubers. I know Ian's gonna have a good time. Where are the OU fans coming after you? They're not around, Ian.
They've been in their hidey holes all week. And they're staying there.
They knew.
They knew. That's why they were having to lean on Sooner Magic, and this game is always close. They were leaning on basically like Texas for the past decade, where we were like, yeah, but what if our quarterback's secretly elite? They were doing all the kind of stuff we were having to do.
Respect to all the OU fans that showed up and chose to believe in their terrible team.
Yep.
That's what fandom is all about. To all the ones that hid in their hidey holes No respect. You got what you deserved.
I actually do have respect for the guys that will comment. Like, they're clearly going to lose the battle, but at least they're talking. The other ones that just go back and kind of disappear, that's a different thing.
I think there are some of us who've accepted we're going to be watching every Texas football game for the rest of our lives, and we're going to be in this rivalry for the rest of our lives. So it's like you can talk all the trash you need to because you get a clean slate every year.
Yeah,
it is what it is. So OU fans, don't run away. We're not going anywhere. So show up.
Hey, maybe we'll get them in the playoffs.
That's Rich Ian. Always a bit of a humorist. All right, fans. Thank you guys for watching. Hook 'em. The Golden Hat returns to Austin.